All right, cool. Everything's working, I think. Cool. I hear myself. Welcome, everybody, to my talk. I'm going to talk about Unreal Engine 5, right? What's coming up in the next versions, right? Dig into... Is that mic on? Okay. We're going to dig into like what's coming in the upcoming one, but also kind of what we're working on after, right? And it's one of the things we always hear that people want to know more of, right? We've been always very reluctant to share what's in the pipeline because we would like to overpromise and or underpromise and overdeliver. Sorry. And so yeah, it's kind of a change to us, but we're working towards that, and I'll talk a bit about that going forward, of like how we want to share some of this roadmap stuff more broadly with everybody, so you can directionally see where we're going. Really quickly, my talk today, we'll talk about like the pillars, right? Like why are we doing what we're doing, right? What is UE5 all about, right? And the path so far, just as a quick recap. Then we'll walk through many of the features that are in progress, right, and the work towards that, and then I'll touch on UEFN as well, because I think it's an interesting thing that you have to kind of understand a bit, and also how it affects AAA and AA development and such things. Legal team always tells us to do caveats, so that's a caveat. Things will change. It's software development. Things will change. Yeah. Quickly about myself, Arjan Brassi. I've been in the game industry for almost 30 years. My first game was in ~94, Jazz Jackrabbit with Epic Mega Games, which is still in the garage of Epic. I've done many things since, co-founded Guerrilla Games, worked on our own technology there, worked at EA on Battlefield Frostbite technology. I licensed Unreal Engine at Bosky. So it changed a lot of the engine, and then you had to deal with all the changing versions and merge conflicts and all that kind of stuff. And now I'm on at Epic again. Worked on Fortnite a bunch on all the different platforms, and now I'm on Unreal Engine for the past 2.5 years, leading up products as part of the dev team management. So cool. Yeah. So 5, right? Like reiterate some of these key features that we've put down. Really, right? It's obviously about the next leap in photorealism but also like content workflows. Like how can you make large worlds more efficiently without having to kind of bake the lighting or create all the LODs and those kind of things, right? Like getting it to work at scale. Out of the box, much more easy, right? And I think these are kind of some of these aims that we have for the engine, right? We're not there yet on all counts, right? Like Nanite kind of works out of the box much better than maybe Lumen works right out of the box, because you have to tune it a lot more, right? So, but those are like guiding kind of principles. Also, we'd like to, enable much larger worlds, right? Like a lot of people have tried to make large worlds with Unreal Engine before, and had to customize the engine crazily, right? And now, right, we're really kind of have a lot of these tools like world partition and one file per actor, and now we're working on like streaming performance and actor count improvement, etc., to make it much easier to make these large worlds, but also not have to make these large worlds with huge teams, right? We'd like to see people make large worlds with smaller teams, right? So it's efficiency of development and all that. Editor, right? Refresh and workflow enhancements. I think, we need to keep stressing that, right? There's a lot of work that we've done in it, but it's never ending, right? Like over my past 30 years, I think development has only gotten slower, right? Iteration time has been becoming slower. The computers are 10,000 times faster than they were like 30 years ago. So something is off there, right? We need to kind of keep moving that forward. Animation tech, we'll talk about that a lot more. Chaos and network physics, a big change, right, to get out of the black boxes of our previous physics engines that we're using. And, again, right, that developer iteration time, right, like also kind of aiming towards, can we get on-target workflows much better, right? And this is kind of a long-standing issue with UE that we're hacking away at, it's it's the goal, right? So over multiple versions, we hope to get there ever closer, right? So yeah, the journey was, like you probably still know, right? We started out as like doing these tech demos, right? Like, okay, we have an idea on like advanced new graphics technology with Nanite and a real-time GI that we started basically doing in a branch of UE4, a couple years ago now. And that kind of demo, right? Those kind of creations of these demos help us to identify all those workflow issues and all the performance problems and kind of really move to the next step, right? So the next step was that the demo that we done, I forgot the name now. That kind of worked on like, well, can we have gameplay that works with this instead of like the static world, like change the world, have the character move around it, right? Be much more runtime and all that. Then moving that towards that Matrix City demo where it was really about like, well, okay, yeah, now we can visualize these large worlds, but we don't want to make them by hand anymore, right? We need procedural tools, right? And for the Matrix demo, we used Houdini, which was great for that, right? And it's probably still great for doing those kind of things. But we identified a bunch of things like, well, we probably want to keep improving the aspects of those tools to create these cities, right? But this was another kind of big beat in kind of productizing the technology towards getting ready. And then, we shipped Fortnite as well using Nanite and Lumen late last year. And that was also interesting because Fortnite is running obviously much faster. It had to run at 60 and it had to run on all the other platforms. So our fallback kind of renderers and content needed to be much more defined, right? And the Fortnite approach is kind of interesting because we basically are upscaling toward Nanite using kind of baked displacement mapping. And so our kind of target fidelity is still like previous gen consoles, but we bake out way more detail in an offline process to reach much higher fidelity on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and those kind of things. But also has Lumen and all that, right? But then again, we had to make fallbacks for Lumen. Like if you don't have real-time GI, how do you do that? So. But yeah, these are the type of things that I think are critical for us to make the technology great, right? We are using it ourselves, right? We have artists and designers screaming at engineers like it needs to be better, right? The iteration time needs to be better. The tools are shit, need to be better, right? And that's that constant cycle that we've been in to make everything much better, I think. So yeah, let's go over some of the things then that are in flight. Starting with this, right? We announced this at GDC and our procedural content generation framework. So, that was an early look at how to create an in-editor type workflow to work with procedural content and generation of the world, right? Because we've seen that we want to increase that round trip, right? That round trip, you probably hear me talk about it like every slide, right? We need to improve that round trip for a developer iteration and seeing it inside the editor instead of having like an import, export, point cloud stuff, and it's all like clunky, right? How much of this can we move into the editor? But the exciting thing as well is that it's actually a runtime system. It runs multi-threaded in a kind of optimized VM, etc. So you can use it runtime. So you can make a runtime generation of worlds for change the world based on your gameplay type things, right? So we haven't seen a lot of demos yet of that, but it's something that I urge you to kind of think about in your game design, right? There's some interesting opportunity space there, perhaps. Still experimental, right? We're early, and we're gonna work on improving that down the line, right? The other things that we notice with this is that we want to start shipping complex assets that have built-in procedural kind of rule sets, right? So instead of like shipping a single tree with Quixel, Megascans type software, right? We want to do like like biomes or sub-biomes and those kind of things. So we have things that are understand what the gameplay relevant areas are of the world and how to interact with each other. And so the world creation becomes so much easier if you make all these kind of like more smarter objects that fill themselves into the world and all that. But that's kind of the future thing that's coming over the next year or so, where we really want to kind of push those things. Yeah, PGG is part of our world building effort, right? And world building is all this stuff like how do we make tools and technology that allow us to scale to huge worlds with millions of actors, right? And we're not there yet. Aim is to get there, right? That's kind of the high level thing. Sticking with PGG, with 5.3, we have a couple of new things coming in there, which is exciting. Hierarchical PGG generation means you can generate LODs much easier, right? So you have like more detail in your close LODs and less detail in the far away, and the system can reason with it. So it makes it more easy to create, large worlds, but also runtime aspects there. We have moved some of that city demo offline tooling into the PGG tools. So now we can import Alembic point clouds and kind of have PGG process that. So it's more of a hybrid approach, right? Maybe you have something that you generate in Houdini, but then you kind of work on PGG and kind of augment it with like some of the things that PGG is good at, right? But it's useful. And we aim to get it to beta probably like 5.4, which is next year. Really the goal is like to have version to version good stability or guarantee that, right? The problem with these things is it needs to be stable, right? You integrate a new version of Unreal, you don't want all your assets to move around. So it needs to be guaranteed to do that. Longer term on like world building in general, we are starting development on a new landscape terrain system. That's long overdue. I think landscape is our crappiest geometry that we have on screen in Fortnite, right? And the delta between nanite level meshes and our height field landscape is just way too large, right? So we need to kind of really kind of up that stuff. So we have a lot of ideas. We have a lot of kind of things we're focusing on, but this is just the type of stuff we're starting to work on. In the meantime, there are some things you can do to up-res the current thing, but it's still pretty limited because it's height field based with maybe some extra like detail displacement, but not like the thing you really want. Async loading is coming in to the editor, right? That's a big change, right? The editor was always, it stems from the time where we made levels for a game, right? And you load the entire level and you work on the level and, by yourself and all that kind of stuff. But now you have like multiple people working in the same world. You don't want to load the entire world. It doesn't fit in memory, right? So how do we async load the stuff that's relevant, but also unload, right? We haven't been able to unload things to the editor because we never had to. So now we have to kind of work on that kind of functionality. Then, actor counts into the millions, right? It's a big statement, right? Fortnite is a good push for us, but Fortnite is still pretty sparse compared to what some people would like to do. And, if you hit orders of magnitude more objects, then everything gets the same amount slower or worse. And things like adding to the world, adding to the physics world, load times, all that is obvious, needs obvious improvements. And we also kind of need to think about like, well, how do we make more lightweight instances across the board? So not everything is an actor that is multiple kilobytes nowadays, and makes everything too big, right? If you multiply it by 1 million. So a lot of work going into that, but that's our kind of like high target thing. And then we talked about like PGG shipping like more complex content as part of the fab, like a part of the Quixel mecha scans things, right? We want to have performance ready content that works out of the box on next generation hardware and has all these rules built in to make it much easier to build worlds, and also to have other people upload such content into the marketplace and sell it on the marketplace. right? I think marketplaces are a big focus for us, right? We have this whole Fab initiative that we announced at GDC, but yeah, all our stuff we want to kind of throw into that mode as well. Yeah. Rendering, right? Well, obviously, right? It's dear to us to keep pushing the state of the art of photorealism across all these industries, right? Like from rendering cars for advertisements to making amazing games, right? So yeah, a lot of work is going into that, right? I can't talk about all the things. There's too much going on, but I think some of the highlights are with 5.3 we're getting nanite spline mesh component support, which is kind of cool to make like larger worlds and meshes that are on a spline. So that's coming. You can enable it. We have some documentation how to use that. Lumen gets a bunch of quality of life stuff, but also interesting. We have now the ability to run Lumen reflections alongside with baked lighting, right? So if you don't need like full dynamic GI, full dynamic time of day or whatever, maybe there's a hybrid approach, right? You have like some baked lighting, but you still want to use like Lumen fast reflections and combine that. So we're starting to support that. So that's exciting. Foliage and the masked leaves on foliage, etc., are getting like a 20% boost, right? We optimized a bunch of stuff there. But we're not there yet. We'll talk about that in the next point. Yeah, and landscape improvements, that's our current landscape system. So what you can now do is use the old landscape, legacy landscape system, but render it as nanite, right? So that means it's much faster, right? The VSMs work much faster, right? It doesn't give you more detail, but it's just like way faster. So I've heard some people talk about it, like that it was like a huge frame rate boost already for people that just enabled it in an early version. So that's cool. Yeah, then landscape 2.0, right? That's a heavy nanite rendering feature. So that's what we talked about. Foliage in itself is, it's a problematic area, right? Because if you have static geometry and it's all rocks, etc., right? If you look at the certain pixel on the screen, you always know what rock you can hit, right? And you can display that pixel. But with moving foliage, that's it's really hard to determine what the final pixel is going to be. It's an accumulation of like almost a ray trace that you need. So we need to have much more support for like rendering foliage efficiently, right? The GDC demo was great as a high-end push, but that's only like a 4 series, 3 series level, like, oh my God, right? If you have infinite expensive hardware, like what does it look like? It's good for the tools, but yeah, for the runtime, right? We need to do work. So we have a lot of stuff in progress, like to how do we define trees? Can we give good sample trees in the meantime, right? Like so you don't have to download a Quixel asset and then spend 3 months on optimizing the Quixel asset to work with nanite right now, right? There's some pain there, we know. So, but yeah, that's an R&D thing, right? I'm not going to promise a version here, but that's it's ongoing. We know we want to make that much better, right? A goal with all these things is, stable 60 hertz on next generation consoles. Tessellation and displacement is also, some people have found it already in the source. It's R&D, right? It's early. Like I said, on Fortnite, we're baking it out for right now, but we want to make that an option, so you don't have to kind of alter everything in like million polygons, but maybe you can alter some lower fidelity and just up-res it with dynamically with displacement maps and such things, right? That helps, but also maybe you can get to like things like snow and sand type support that's been highly requested for a long time. And yeah, overall, right, performance, big thing, right? We, nanite is mostly there, but constantly getting faster, which is good. Lumen, right? It's just it eats up like 4 or 5 milliseconds. So if you have that budget, that's fine, but it's hard on a 16 millisecond frame to eat up that amount of time. So you have to make your game kind of or your whole kind of pipeline deal with that if you want to take that budget. But yeah, we want to kind of keep working on the performance of that. So that's a lot of work there. Yeah. So Substrate is also kind of an exciting new thing that we announced at GDC. Basically, our new way of ordering materials that replaces that fixed suite of shading models, right? Much more complex, multi-layered, coded materials are now possible to create with that. Still very experimental right now in 5.2, right? The performance is reasonably the same as the same complexity of materials using our previous material system. But if you go crazy with a lot more layers and complexity, it will degrade, right? It will be slower, right? There's no magic there. But yeah, with 5.3, many improvements are coming. Especially in performance debugging, but also some features like glints and specular support and such things. Want to move to beta somewhere probably next year or so. The plan how we probably want to do that is to convert Fortnite over to use this and then release it, and we'll shake out all the issues that way and shake out all the performance. So if we can't guarantee the performance to be exactly the same for the same content moving over to the new material system, then it's probably not ready. So that's our approach to get it to beta and beyond. Physics. So we've been on this path to create our own physics system for a couple of years now, right? It started with the destruction demo. We have it running in Fortnite for about 3 or 4 years now, and all our demos have been created with that, right? So it's getting ever better, right? We have multiple licensees that shipped games on it already. We help them, right? We optimize the performance and the functionality a lot. But I think, right, the benefits we start seeing is the way it starts interacting with all the other systems, all the other dynamic systems in the engine, right? Like how Niagara, fluid dynamics works together with physics, works together with machine learning, right? We have all these kind of things all augment each other, and that was not possible before, right? With the previous solutions. So exciting things. Niagara fluid dynamics much faster. I'm seeing 60 to 200% based on what kind of things you're doing. But also, there's now an option to bake it out. So you just bake out the simulation and kind of replay it, which is much faster, obviously, and useful. We have ML Clot panel editor in the works, and that's coming with 5.3. So that allows you to make Clot. You can train the deformation of the Clot using an ML system by running a whole suite of character movement through a simulation, and then all the deformation is stored as displacements that we calculate with the ML, and then can apply a runtime using our new inference system. So that's really cool, really high quality and high performance. So that's exciting. And obviously base performance, right? Rigid body and scene query performance is much faster with 5.3. Then beyond that, we have a new character mover in the pipe, pretty far. It's been going on for quite some time. But that's a fully physics-driven character mover, or character mover 2.0 we call it, and that's gonna go probably mid next year or something that direction. We are working on a visual debugger plan to do that. That's a big feature that I was missing, right? It's really hard to kind of figure out what's going on, what's being dirtied, what's causing the rebuild. So that's on the docket. Using more of that ML learning, right? I think this is a cool case of using ML, right? You can generate really complex systems, right? Like we have our flesh deformer, muscle deformation that we run like a Houdini, and we use that like super expensive, right, to train a model and then apply it runtime super fast, right? So it's like an optimization, right? You can use the big data crunching with ML to kind of as an optimization step. And yeah, we're using that on flesh, on cloth, and on skin deformation and such things. Really powerful. And we shipped it already like last year in like a Fortnite character. We had like the Hulk with like full muscles and all that, and that worked fine on all the consoles. That now with our new NNI works on all platforms, so it's not even limited to next gen. Yeah, and then performance, right? Performance, constant attention, right? Many areas there, but I think especially things like adding objects to the physics world when you're streaming in a large world and going from cell to cell. A lot of perf needs to be won there. Keep going. I think we're okay. Yeah, animation, right? A huge effort has been going on animation, right? It's really we want to kind of deliver this full animation suite inside the editor. Really, right? The main goal is to increase that round trip again, right? Like we don't want people to be in a tool, export, import, cook, run on a platform, right? That kind of stuff, right? Like how fast can we get that animation cycle? And I think we're getting there, right? We have probably like 50 animators at Epic now right now using our tools and giving feedback, and they're fully in our tools, right? They don't use Maya, Motion Builder, those kind of things anymore, right? Really dedicated in that stuff, right? And the things I'm hearing, for instance, from people that are making cutscenes or such, is that you can actually animate in like your final pixels, right? So if your characters are in shadow or behind an object, whatever, why should you animate a hand? Because you don't even see it, right? And that's kind of the level of efficiency you can gain by just doing it all inside the final frame, right? It's quite fundamental difference. So yeah, part of that animation pipeline, we have a skeletal editor coming, so you can now edit skeletons, right? But also for like simple things, you just like a simple like rigid body thing, and you wanna have a hierarchy animate and all that. You can also make that now with inside the editor. Control rigs can now be like data-driven, programmed, procedurally created, which is great, right? It's a fast IK, FK way to kind of make everything move dynamically. Retargeting, ML deformers are getting a lot of speed updates, so that's all cool. There's more detail online. I'll share the roadmap with all the detail that's online in a bit, so you can review it and see more and comment on it if you want. Beyond 5.3. We have a big effort towards like much higher quality locomotion in the engine. We are using motion matching and a lot of those things to kind of get that quality up. But root motion support and all that. A lot of work going into that. It's probably somewhere next year that we'll release that. But yeah, we're excited to kind of bring that next level of fidelity there, and that kind of coincides with that physical-based character mover as well, right? It's part of the same system. We have another thing in progress which we call internally like NM Next, and that's our kind of new high performance animation pipeline. So right now, the enemy graphs are getting so complex often that you have to nativize them by hand, and then means you have to start typing C++ instead of using the blueprint. So going forward, we want to use our kind of control rig VM, which is much more high performance, and going to run all those graphs through that, which means you don't have to nativize them, and it will scale to many more actors. So that's exciting and in progress, and hopefully you see that somewhere in the next year or so. Yeah, and then sequencer stuff as well. Gameplay. Obviously, right. Yeah, we're giving this some love, right? We want to aim at improving the efficiency and performance of our gameplay systems, right? Again, right? How can we hit these larger numbers of actors? How can we make these things interact better with the world, stream in the world, like be part of the streaming system, like world partition, etc. So part of that, right? We're coming up with 5.3 now with smart objects that actually support world partition, which is great. But also, things like we now have a blueprint merge tool that we are releasing a first version of it, 5.3. We'll first work on just data assets, but we have good hopes that can work on more things than just data assets. But yeah, this is like a big requested thing for the longest time that we're happy to make some progress on. Beyond that, nav mesh and link improvements for open world are on the list, right? That currently doesn't work so well. So work is going into that. You'll see that shortly, we hope. Lightweight instances, right? Like actors are pretty bloated, right? And there are approaches to make them more lightweight and kind of inflate them and transition between actors and mass objects and such things. So we have a lot of kind of work going into that. It's kind of a key to get to great performance right now, because if you do it naively and to import everything with like thousands of actors, right, performance will suffer greatly. So you have to judiciously already use actors for only the things that you really care about interacting with. But generally the world needs to be like mesh instances and such things. So it's a thing we're working on to make it more easy and out of the box work better. Character mover again, also gameplay, and then we have a big initiative to build a new scene graph that supports prefabs and verse. So you'll see that probably first coming into like UEFN, because that's kind of our first kind of case where we have verse that needs to operate with like the game world. But yeah, this is basically almost a new gameplay kind of framework inside of the engine, right? So to really get to much better workflows, right? Especially prefabs, for instance, have been missing for much too long in a real engine, and the ability to have a collection of objects that you can override and instantiate and things like that is huge, especially if you want to make larger worlds, right? Like a city with many buildings that all have like internal structure and gameplay objects, everything linked together, right? You want to have prefabs for that, right? And there's ways to do it now, but they're a bit clunky and not as much progress as we'd like to. So we have a lot of work going into a fully fledged, advanced prefab system. So dev iteration, I touched upon this a couple of times already, right? Really the data pipelines, how to convert assets, right, through the pipeline, in all cases, right? How to make that more efficient is huge, right? If we, I was once talking to somebody and he said like, well, if you have like 2 weeks to make a feature and you can iterate like 5 times, or you can iterate like 50 times, right? What would be the better feature, right? What would be the quality in the end, right? It's obvious, right? You want to have faster iteration to get the quality better. So yeah, this is pretty big and a long effort, right? And we have a lot of legacy in Unreal that we have to make work with this, and this is the complexity that makes it all go slower than we hoped, right? All the custom serialization code and all that don't make these things easier. But yeah, anyway, we have some good stuff coming into 5.3. We have multi-process cook in beta, so it can spin up multiple threads on multi-core machines to accelerate cook. You know, we're seeing good improvements, but it doesn't scale to like 64 cores because it needs too much memory, right? So it's you can run it on like 4 to 8 cores or something, depending on the memory on your built machine or your local machine, but it's much faster. Cook performance in general on like our Fortnite test cases is about like 40% faster right now as well. So we're plugging away at it. I think this is great to see. You know, virtual assets is gonna be production ready. So this kind of our virtual, like virtual file system in a way where you can reduce the size of your local project data greatly, because we decoupled like the object metadata and from the bulk data, right? So if you're a programmer, you don't need the source data for the assets, right? So let's just not sync that. Just sync the thing that you actually need to work with. Right, and that makes the sync of a repository like way smaller, right? On the city demo, I think it was like you know, like more than 50%, 80% or something. Fortnite is smaller, but Fortnite content is not as high fidelity maybe as the you know, some of the pure next gen things. And yeah, going forward, right, you know, incremental cooking is getting a bunch of improvements, which helps, you know, also, you know, if that can be the thing that runs by default and stably, then that will make a lot of things much faster, which we also need for like on-target iteration, right? Unreal is great in buy, is less great trying to target a platform and kind of iterate on the platform, right? But to get there, we need you know, faster incremental cook iteration to kind of send it to the console and have systems that pull the data efficiently across the network for that. Editor is getting async loading, and we're also getting like async loading for like cooking and such. That also makes things faster. So yeah, a lot of work has been going into that. So you'll keep seeing improvements, hopefully every release to make that better. Yeah, so we talked about MetaHuman Animator at GDC. This is now released, right? Obviously, really awesome technology as well, right? We're getting amazing results using phones and simple capture machines. Also, right in the background, obviously, this is using AI type stuff to kind of process the data, right? But again, you know, we control the data in this case, so we can use these things. But yeah, amazing. Check it out. Use it. I think we're getting much better results than we've ever seen. You know, on the machine learning tools, right? I talked about it before, but this is like the deformation of cloth plus muscles sim of a character. You know, I don't know if it's in this video, but you see like a full muscle sim underneath, and yeah, it's really advanced technology. We are releasing, or I think, yeah, we are releasing the source data of this muscle model to people, but you need a new version of Houdini that comes out like probably September to be able to run it yourself or recreate it yourself. But this is an exciting thing to work on, like super advanced characters. Probably your hero characters first, but you know. Yeah, and then you know, I didn't touch all the features because I'll be here for many more hours. You know, you know, really, right? If you think about like where we're going, is that yeah, we want to make this effort towards building this kind of open metaverse, right? And you know, and then also for that, like solving the needs of the next generation of these AAA games and on all platforms, right? And this is a journey, right? And we are not doing the journey on like some branch or in the dark or whatever, right? We're going to work on this, iterate towards this in UE5, and at some point when we've hit all the areas that we think like, well, we're now confident that this is the future of our engine. We'll call it UE6, right? So we'll go to like Unreal 5, whatever, 20 to UE6. So we're not going to do it in the dark, right? You'll see this happen. And yeah, hopefully also means that we just can transfer projects from UE5 to UE6, which I think was a huge help going from UE4 to UE5, right? So that's pretty obvious. But yeah, we'll keep you informed on how all these things are going. So yeah, we have a public roadmap available. So this is the 5.3 and 5, all the versions right now. Scan the QR code. It's a link, or you just Google it, Unreal Engine roadmap, product board. Then you'll find it. So it has much more detail and much more items than I've talked about so far. The other thing we want to do is make a future section. So some of the things I talked about in my slides will be added to the product board, and we'll share more info on like the type of things we're planning to do. Again, right, this is kind of new for us, so we're a bit afraid to kind of share what we're working on. But generally, I think it will help, and especially if you're like, well, I really need to have this feature for the game. Well, actually, Epic is working on it. Well, maybe we shouldn't, or maybe we should if we don't, if we can't wait that long, right? That's fine. But yeah, I think generally what we want to do is just share the type of things that are in development without committing to any timeline. So if the timeline is becoming clear, we can tell you. But I think we just want to kind of show the future without being stuck to a certain timeline. Still better than opaque nothing. So yeah, so let's talk about Unreal Editor for Fortnite a bit. A little video. So yeah, we announced it at GDC, and it's an interesting thing, right? Because what it actually is it's a version of the Unreal Editor that is targeting Fortnite basically as a platform, right? So if what that means, right? If you look at it, Fortnite supports all these platforms, right? So if you have Fortnite running on like PlayStation 5, right? And you have your editor open on your PC, you can actually target Fortnite on that platform and use it as a dev kit, right? So you don't need a dev kit anymore in that case, right? That means that if you are a student and you want to work on like a PlayStation 5 demo or something, you can actually do that with this, right? You can make Nanite Lumen, whatever, run into your PlayStation, even share the link in your resume when you apply to a job at a developer and show that you're actually making even performant PlayStation 5 type content, right? Or mobile, or Switch, right? Or streaming type things, etc. That's quite interesting, right? And not all the functionality is all the UE functionality is available yet in UEFN, because it needs to be stable and secure, right? So we need to run everything in a sandbox, right? So if we just run general blueprint or code, right? We won't be allowed by Sony to run that on a console, right? We need to make sure that the integrity of the console is intact. So it needs to be all sandboxed. So the way that UEFN works is that you make something locally, it uploads it to the cloud. It has cookers on the cloud that converts it and then it downloads it to the PlayStations, right, or to the target platforms. But it's just an interesting way of developing that we hope to kind of extend to UE going forward, because I think it has merits for more things, right? But yeah, it's exciting if you think about it, right? But yeah, from a business point of view, like why would you want to even consider doing this? Well, we have like 500 million registered accounts nowadays in Fortnite. Massive on PC, console, largest game, still in the world on consoles, and all these people are super hungry for content, right? We already see that like 40%, and this is like in March, 40% of the playtime that people spend in Fortnite is playing user-generated content, right? Creative islands and stuff like that. So you know, it's a great audience to target, right? What we are doing now is that we are sharing 40% of the Fortnite net revenues with the creators, right? And that's you know, including us. We are also in that pool, right? So it's basically based on engagement type distribution. So if you have something that eats up like 10% of player time or something, you'll get 10% of 40% of the Fortnite revenue, right? So it's quite substantial, right? We see some creators getting pretty nice paychecks right now. And you know, we just released this thing recently as a indication of the type of money you can see annually across kind of different levels of you know, your rating in the engagement level, and it's you know, like it goes up pretty significantly, right? If you compare that to you know, indie games, right? It's I think it's a viable thing to target. So just I want to throw it out there as a idea. We also have mega grants supporting this. So if you want to do these kind of things, you know, apply for a mega grant. We will help you to develop that, right? One slide, and I think I'm getting over time. One slide. You know, how does this help AAA and AA, right? And I think a lot of these things actually make a lot of sense for AAA, right? I think, you know, the size of games is growing so much that everything needs to be streamed in, right? We need you know, work with assets marketplaces, because you don't want to make 100% of the assets yourself probably anymore, right? Like, how can you use multi-user type tools to edit worlds together, right? You know, can we use this to onboard new creators as Unreal developers that will help you hire people, right? You know, scalability, right? Improvements, right? It just runs on all the platforms mostly out of the box. And a new script language, right? Hopefully, you know, for some things, you know, people want script languages over Blueprint, or script language even over C++ for iteration improvement. So a lot of this stuff is in progress, and will also help the UE state going forward. So yeah, exciting, I think. Last slide. Unreal Fest is happening again on October 3 to 5. I just heard registrations are opening August 9th. All right, soon. So you know, keep checking what's happening. There's limited places, so you know, it's first come, first served. I think it's like 2 times bigger than last year, so I think we have more spaces. But you know, this is great, right? We have a lot of our developers there. We have a lot of licensees there. Worth the travel, worth the journey, worth the cost. So yeah, just hopefully see you there. Thank you. That's it. And I think we're really late on time. So one question? No? Just go. Yes, oh, sorry. A mic.
Hi there. Thank you for the great talk. So is there any like thing in the roadmap for integrating like say like voxels into the terrain, so you could like basically sculpt terrain or create like say for example like caves and stuff like that? I know there's a few plugins out there for that, but potentially is that something that you might integrate into the engine?
Yeah, we have some R&D going on, but more for like far away stuff as kind of an optimization. You know, yeah, you can use voxel engine and those kind of things as plugins, right? Some people do that efficiently. I don't think we have a huge plan to make voxels across the board as a native geometry type. So yeah, if that's something you know, you probably want to look at the plugins out there.
Thank you.
Right. I'll be around. So if you want to ask me questions, so I'll be here. Thank you.